You are live. We are live. Hi, gang. Welcome. It is Sunday, March 8th, 2026, the eve of the, I'll do this for you, Dante, legal tampering period.
Yes, you've converted.
No, I'm doing you a solid because I know you like it. By the way, there's a new twist this year before we dive into it with Dante Collinelli, Deputy Editor of Miami Dolphins on SI. You know little old me. I am Alain Poupart. I have gone by Poop for quite a while. It's a long story. I'll explain it one of these days. I don't mind it. I get it, that the connotation could be bad. P-O-U-P are the first four letters of my last name. That's what it stands for. Okay. New twist this year is that teams can actually do 5 different video Zooms as opposed to audio Zoom. 5 Zooms with prospective free agent signees during the negotiating period, up to 1 hour each. This was a rule that was suggested by the Pittsburgh Steelers last year, and apparently now it's come into effect. So we will dive into all the fun. First off, big thanks for everyone who's joining us. Hopefully more people will come aboard as we do our usual foolishness, as I mentioned on social media. As I said, he is Dante. We'll be here however long we need to be here. We'll discuss the Dolphins free agent outlook, which is what, Dante Collinelli?
Not large, right? It's a small outlook, right? We're kind of more so looking through binoculars than we are looking through a telescope this year. It's going to be a couple of very targeted bargain bin free agents at specific positions, and that's probably all they're going to do in that first window, especially given that they have not done the maximum cap creating that they can do, which I'm not saying is good or bad. I'm just simply stating that it is what they've decided to do. And so I think that just gives further credence to the fact that it's going to be a couple guys probably in this first window, and then we'll see what happens maybe later in the summer.
This is where, in fact, let me look it up real quickly. The Dolphins, as you are well aware, or you should be well aware by now, made some moves. Was it Friday when they released, kicker Jason Sanders and fullback Alec Ingold to create a little bit of cap space. Right now, they're at $3.3 million of cap space per over the cap. That is not a lot. And this is, remember, the top 51 count throughout the offseason, summer, training camp, up until the cuts of 53 when everybody on the roster counts. For now, it's only the top 51 cap hits. And with those top 51 Dolphins, again, at $3.3 million of cap space below the limit of $301.2 million. Dolphins only have 52 players on the roster signed already. Generally speaking, they're going to have 90 by the time training camp starts. So if you do the math real quickly, that's 38. They currently are scheduled to have 8 draft picks. They're going to have what I would suspect is going to be a very large undrafted rookie free agent class, 15-ish. So that would be 23. That means you got 15 other players who have to come from somewhere. And I'm with Dante. The Dolphins are going to go bargain shopping, which of course brings up the question, because there's still some smoke out there and some folks linking the Dolphins to Malik Willis. Our good friend and frequent guest on this show, Dave Hyde, came out with a column Friday, I think it was, where he suggested Packers, John Eric Sullivan, Jeff Hafley know Malik Willis better than anybody for having spent the past 2 years with him. If they have a conviction that he's the right guy, Dolphins should do whatever they need to do to get him. To which I say, that's awesome. You better not be wrong. And that would make me, to quote another former Green Bay Packer official who joined the Dolphins, very queasy. Yes, you knew that was coming, right? Would make me very queasy.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dave makes a good point, right? Like, generally speaking, if you have that much conviction about a quarterback, there is no price that you can overpay if that player ends up being a, I don't know, top 7 passer, right? Like that's invaluable in the NFL. That brings you to a place where you are consistently competing for conference championships and theoretically further, right? So, like, in theory, without getting into the specifics of whether Malik Willis is or is not that player, in theory, I'm on board with that philosophy of team building. What I would say, though, is that I think Jeff Hafley has some type of relationship with Malik Willis, and that's valuable and that's fine. But like, it's not like he was Malik Willis's offensive coordinator or the quarterback's coach. Like, I'm sure he has a lot of insight, and that's great. But like, he's thrown 35 career passes. Or no, I'm sorry. He threw 35 passes like last season, right? Like that's it. Like that's kind of what you're going on. It's like 6 starts and 35 passes over the course of the last, 2-ish years, right? So like I understand from a team building philosophy perspective. If you think he's the guy, you pay him whatever you need to pay him to get him into your building. I have a hard time thinking that Malik Willis is that guy. I think he could be, sure, but to me, there has not been enough evidence for me to pay him more than, I don't know. I think my number is probably like 20 AAV. That's like my high point. That's like my ceiling, right? And like some reports are like, he's going to get double that. And if he's going to get double that, then, God bless the Arizona Cardinals. We'll see how it works out. But I think 20 AAV, and maybe you could get me to like 22, maybe, and that would be it. I'm not chasing the market for Malik Willis. There's just not enough of a sample size there for me.
Not only that, here's the other part. I'm going to make 2 points here that I'm not going to play well with those who want to bring Malik Willis into Miami, into the fold. Is number one, in Tennessee, was a 3rd-round pick out of Liberty, was a backup in Tennessee when their starting quarterbacks were not exactly great. I believe 1 year was Will Levis, and the other one was, it's going to escape me. Was it Ryan Tannehill when he first got drafted, who was still the quarterback there?
I think so. Yeah.
It may have been, but he couldn't win a starting job in Tennessee in his 3 years there. Traded to Green Bay as a backup. He was traded for a 7th-round pick. And then the other part of it is, and this is a word of caution that I would have for John Eric Sullivan and Jeff Hafley. We've seen this many, many times. How often have we seen the Dolphins get bit because their opinion of their current players was higher than the reality was? And you heard Mike McDaniel say a lot of times, well, one of the biggest things in terms of roster building is the improvement from year to year of certain players. Not everybody progresses at an acceptable level. And I think the Dolphins have been guilty of overvaluing the guys they have on their roster. A lot of them. Some of them they haven't, and the argument could be made. Sometimes they undervalued guys they lost in free agency. I know people are going to throw out Andrew Van Ginkel, certainly. Robert Hunt, I don't know if the Dolphins undervalued Robert Hunt so much as they decided $20 million for a guard is just ridiculous. And they're not totally wrong, even though so that would be my major word of caution. I said all along I have zero issue with Malik Willis coming to the Dolphins, the Dolphins pursuing him. Do not make any long-term commitments would be my plea, because we've been down this road before and it's bit the Dolphins in the ass too many times. And don't fall in love with the idea of we're very familiar with him and we know what he can do. Because again, if he was, with all due respect, if he was that great, maybe he wouldn't have been a backup for his 4 years in the NFL.
Well, I mean, I think Malik Willis to me is a player who he needed some time, right? Like that was kind of always the thing when he came out of Liberty. When he was a prospect at Liberty, I remember scouting him and I was like, all right, like 2 years on the bench and then we'll see what we got. It's essentially what happened. Now it took a little bit longer than 2 years, but guys' opportunities take a long time. So I don't know that I would personally hold what happened in Tennessee against him. Like he was bad, but he was bad at Liberty. Like him being bad at Tennessee was not even remotely surprising to me. That was kind of the expected outcome. So I don't know that I would personally hold that against him, but I think to your larger point, right? I think where the Dolphins got in trouble in recent years and have gotten in trouble before in free agency is chasing the market, right? Where they just get this idea in their head, whether it's an internal player or an external player, that they just always have to be giving that player everything all the time. They have to keep chasing the market, right? Like Tyreek Hill wanted to get paid a lot more money as one of the top receivers. The Dolphins went and chased the market and gave him an extension. Jalen Ramsey, same thing. The Dolphins went and chased the market and gave Jalen Ramsey an extension. They have to do that. And there are countless free agent examples. If you have a number for Malik Willis that you're comfortable with, say it's hypothetically my $20 million number, and the Arizona Cardinals give him $35 million AAV, don't go chase that number. It's truly that simple to me, right? Like have your number. If you get him for that number, great. If not, you stick to it. Don't go chase the market because the free agent market blows up every year. We do all these projections. We say, here's what Over the Cap thinks and Spot Rack thinks, and The Athletic does all their projections. And it's a great exercise. It's fun. We've done them on dolphinsonsi.com. You should go read them. They're good pieces of content. But ultimately, and you know this, what ends up happening is we're like 8% off. They get like an 8% increase, and it's just like way more money than we expected, right? And so that happens like every year now, especially with the cap just skyrocketing through the roof. So my advice to the Dolphins with Malik Willis is don't chase the market. Have your number. Hopefully it's a reasonable contract. You don't want a long-term commitment. I agree with you, right? 2-year deal to me is probably the sweet spot. And you go from there. And I think it's pretty unlikely that Malik will end up in Miami. I think they'll make an offer. I just don't think it's going to be the top one.
Yeah, because Arizona is the one team that jumps out. Part of it is their new head coach is Mike LaFleur, whose brother is Matt LaFleur, who coached the Green Bay Packers for the past few years. And what's it been there, 7 years? So obviously he knows as much about Malik Willis, if not more, as John Eric Sullivan and Jeff Hafley. The other thing is I haven't done the research on this, and I will try to, and I'll put something up on the website once I get the numbers, but I would be curious to find out how many quarterbacks had 6 starts in 4 seasons and went in their first 4 seasons in the NFL and then went on to become success stories. I am going to guess that number is probably not very large.
With a different team or with the same team?
Regardless.
Go
ahead and find me a quarterback, 6 starts in his first 4 years, and the guy becomes a stud. I have a hard time believing that because, again,
there's a lot of historical backups that became starters, right? For like a long time. Like Jordan Love's an example in Green Bay off the top of my head. How many starts did Steve Young had before he got into the role?
Okay, hold on. I'm going to look up Jordan Love here real quickly.
Right. Like I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just like trying to think of
right. Jordan Love started 17 games in his 3rd season. His 4th season. So in his first,
his first 3, so he had 0. Okay, all right. So he is 3 years on the bench.
Yeah, correct. Okay. Steve Young, real quickly. I just don't know that there are a lot of those guys. Steve Young had 19 starts in his first 2 seasons. Plus, he had played in the USFL, which is before your time, the United States Football League.
That is true. I forgot about that.
Man, yeah. I think the sample size is going to be extraordinarily small. I'm sure there's a guy here and there. And if any of you folks out there watching us, and by the way, thank you for joining us. If any of you folks know some names, by all means, please.
Yeah, throw them out there.
So, my expectation also is that Malik Willis is going to wind up with the Arizona Cardinals, but we shall see. I think the Dolphins would go. And remember, John Eric Sullivan and Jeff Hafley's plea, they want competition at every position. If you sign Malik Willis with any decent amount of money thrown his way and he's not the starter, that immediately is like right off the bat. That would not be good. So perhaps maybe somebody of a lower stature in terms of the free agent market, like a veteran who's been a backup, this is where the names Jimmy Garoppolo could come into play. Geno Smith could come into play. He's from Miramar, Florida. I'm not a fan either. Sure. But again, this is a transition year. If ideally the Dolphins get their franchise quarterback maybe in 2027, then you need somebody to get you through 2026, and you have Quinn Ewers compete with Geno Smith. Another possibility, perhaps Joe Flacco says he's interested in ideally have a chance to compete to start. Again, This is not a long-term answer, but as a bridge, Dolphins have to get through 2026. It's possible they're not going to be able, in fact, it's possible, if not probable, they're not going to be able to land their long-term answer quarterback this year, but they have to go through the season. So this is where perhaps a veteran bridge quarterback would make sense.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. If you're a frequent watcher or listener of the show, you know that my preference would be to take a more inspired swing at the bat than one of those veteran quarterbacks. But ultimately,
that's a check swing, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that a few of them are not even getting out of the dugout, personally. Yeah. But ultimately, like, I fundamentally understand that like NFL teams do not operate in the way that it can sit here from my nice cushy chair in Austin, Texas, and say, I would just play a bunch of young guys and go 3-14 and be done with it, right? It's a lot easier for me to say that than for an NFL franchise. So I have roughly made peace with the fact that it might be a Jimmy G, Joe Flacco, Geno Smith. I think of those options, Geno Smith would actually be my preference, but not the point. I mean, ultimately it doesn't matter, but it's because I'm with you. I don't think that they're going to find their long-term answer this season. But I would prefer to give myself at least a 1% chance as opposed to 0, which is what I would argue Joe Flacco, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Geno Smith represent.
Okay.
But to your point, Geno Smith, local guy. The Raiders were a mess last year. Perhaps if you put a bit more of a better structure around him, he looks okay. I think there's a version of history where that exists. Jimmy Garoppolo, to me, I mean, when's the last time he took a meaningful snap? Like 3 years ago, 2 years ago? Like it's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a minute. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I don't know. Like I get he knows the offense, so I get that. Kirk Cousins also exists. He looked kind of okay at the end of last season for the Falcons. He had a couple nice games and some big spots.
Too pricey.
He's going to get the minimum though, right?
Oh,
From Atlanta?
I would never underestimate Kirk Cousins' ability to generate more income than he should.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. You're absolutely correct. I thought he was a vet minimum guy, but I guess we'll see. This is the real test of the vet minimum. Can Kirk Cousins get it or not? We'll see. That's a good point. But yeah, I mean, look, I understand what you're saying, right? Like someone's got to take snaps in 2026, and you probably don't want it to just be Quinn Ewers. This is not a great quarterback draft. You might get priced out of Malik Willis. Trading for a young option is my preferred opportunity, but I understand why a team would not do that. There are downsides to that as well. So, would not be surprised if it ends up being a vet. It's just, I would prefer a more inspired choice.
I would not dismiss the Kyler Murray possibility only if he can't land a starting job somewhere else, i.e. Minnesota Vikings, where he would compete with J.J. McCarthy, who the Vikings, by all reports, are very down on. They're not going to give up on him. They already paid his signing bonus. He's under contract at a reasonable number for the next 2 years. It would make zero sense to dump him, but they certainly want to bring in somebody to compete with him. Maybe the Jets go for Kyler Murray. If he doesn't land any of those jobs, maybe the Dolphins, talk to him and say, listen, come in here, compete with Quinn Ewers. So that's also another possibility as far as that's concerned. And I had another point in my mind, and I totally forgot. That's how things happen. Today is before we move on. Today is March 8th. It is the anniversary of the Ricky Williams trade of 2002. And it's topical with what's going on in the NFL because on Friday night, the Las Vegas Raiders agreed to send Max Crosby to the Baltimore Ravens for 2 first-round picks. Dolphins, if you recall, traded a first and a conditional second, which became a first-round pick. So that became 2 first-round picks to the Saints for Ricky Williams. There's also a swap of 4th-round picks with the Dolphins moving down in the 4th round. With that 4th-round pick, they took Randy McMichael, who actually became one of the best tight ends in franchise history. But it was 2 first-round picks for Ricky, which is the only time the Dolphins traded 2 first-round picks for a player. They also were on the other side of getting 2 first-round picks in the trade. That, of course, for Laramie Tunsil, where they not only got that, they also got a 2nd-round pick, which to me is still the most fabulous trade in Dolphin history, even though it was followed by years of not being able, or a couple of years of not having a solution at left tackle until Teron Armstead came along. And now it looks like the Dolphins still have their solution because they have Patrick Paul. Okay. And I have said this many times, I'm going to say it again. Ricky Williams, easily, to me, the best running back in Dolphins history in terms of ability, in terms of production. You can make the argument Larry Zonka, but Ricky Williams as a running back, I mean, wow.
Yeah, it's a different breed.
Fast, physical. The vision was incredible. His ability to process things immediately when he in the hole. I mean, very, very impressive. So that was my little Ricky Williams spiel. Back to free agency. Again, Dolphins are like $3 million over the cap. They have 2 restricted free agents remaining. That's Matthew Butler and that's Julian Hill. The lowest tender, which gives the team the right of first refusal, is $3.5 million or something like that. Not going to happen for either one of those guys. So they'll become unrestricted free agents to join the 28 already scheduled plus the now 5 street free agents, Tyreek Hill, Nick Westbrook-Akine, James Daniels, Alec Ingold, and Jason Sanders. There is a world where maybe the Dolphins re-sign one of those guys that's not against the rules, even though there were heartfelt goodbyes sent and thank you messages from the Dolphins towards Ingold and Sanders over the weekend, and Sanders and Ingold thanking the fans, thanking the organization for their time in Miami and how much they enjoyed it. So, and then question is, how many of the Dolphins' 28 unrestricted free agents can we see them re-signing? Dante?
3. The number feels low, right? Like I think ultimately what's going to end up happening for Miami is I think they're going to sit out the first wave of free agency, whatever that means to you. If that's the first 3 days, if that's the first week, whatever, right? Like that, I think they're going to mostly sit that out. They're going to let some chips fall where they may. Maybe we get a Minkah Fitzpatrick trade that opens up some more space. Maybe we get an Austin Jackson something. Maybe we get the Tua thing resolved.
Austin Jackson saves no money. I got to point that out. Austin Jackson saves no money because
they're going to ask him to take a pay cut.
And if he says no, they save like $1 million by cutting him. And
I think they're going to cut him if he says no.
To save $1 million, $1.3 million.
They do not want to pay him that money to be the right tackle this year. They don't want that cap hit. I really don't think that they do. I'd be surprised.
But here's the thing, though. If you cut again, Dolphins, we're going to under the assumption that they're going to cut Tua as a post-June 1 and Bradley Chubb as a post-June 1. That takes care of them. The Dolphins do not have any more post-June 1s. Right now, Austin Jackson's cap number is 15.4. You cut him, his cap number goes down only to 13.8. You're still carrying 13.8. And it's not
I get that. I am telling you, I do not think that they want that cap number for a player on their books right now. I just don't. I don't think they want it. We'll see what happens. But my point being, right, is that they don't have a lot of money. Even in the event that they clear up some space, I still don't think they're going to have that much money, right? We agree on that. I think they're going to largely sit out the first wave of free agency. So to bring this back around to which of their free agents do they possibly bring back? I think when the chips settle, they have a better understanding of the market. They have their cap wherever it ends up on who they keep, who they don't, whatever, right? I think they could come back to some of these players who maybe thought they had greener pastures, but didn't, and say, hey, we're a familiar face. You know us, we know you a little bit, right? Even though it's a new group, do you want to come back on a cheaper deal, right? On a discount later in free agency, right? And you circle back to some of these guys. I think the only free agent, internal free agent that I would be chomping at the bit, and I would put that in air quotes to bring back, is Greg Dulcich, right? That's the only one to me that's gets me excited. I like Rasul Douglas. He's a little bit too old, I think, for this team right now. I'm not saying I'd be against bringing him back if it's on an affordable deal. I'm just saying I would wait and see what happens. Same for Jack Jones. I would wait and see what happens. For me, it would be Greg Dulcich. And then ironically enough, after that, I'd be interested in Kader Kohu coming back as well on a short deal, a short, cheap deal, right? He didn't play at all last year. Can you get him for $1.4 million? There's your starting slot, maybe. Okay,
I can tell you, though, my understanding is Dolphins have not had discussions about bringing him back.
Okay, well, yeah. So there you go, right? Probably not a lot of guys coming back.
And here's the thing. Yeah, I think the only 2 players who could expect, and I'm going to run down the list of the pending free agents here for the Dolphins who become free agents on Wednesday. I think the only 2 who could get decent money on the free agent market. I'm not talking about street free agents like James Daniels, for example, or even Tyreek at some point, although Tyreek, I don't think anything's going to happen with him for a while, would be Rasul Douglas and perhaps Jack Jones, because he plays a premium position. But the Dolphins, pending unrestricted free agents, Zach Wilson, Kader Kohu, Ifeatu Melifonwu, Ashton Davis, Larry Borum, Jake Bailey, Darren Waller, Benito Jones, Elijah Campbell, Rasul Douglas, Kendall Lamb, Joe Cardona, the long snapper, Artie Burns, Willie Gay Jr., KJ Britt, Alexander Madison, who still has to get cleared unless that's happened. D. Eskridge, Jermaine Ifedi, Caleb Johnson, Riley Patterson, Daniel Brunskill, Cedric Wilson Jr., Jack Jones, Cole Strange, AJ Green, Quentin Bell, Greg Dulcich, Yodny Kajust. To be extraordinarily polite, this is not exactly a star-studded group. No. And to me, I'll give you another one who, along with Dulcich, who I would make an effort to re-sign again with the cap permitting, is Riley Patterson. The Dolphins now right now do not have a kicker on the roster. I wrote about this on Saturday, and of course I wrote the story about noonish, scheduled to post 4 p.m. and of course at 3:30 p.m. one of the guys I had suggested as a possibility, Pinheiro, who the Dolphins had in the workout that led to Patterson being the choice, and had a fabulous year with the 49ers. They re-signed him and gave him about $4.5 million a year, which I'm going to suggest is way too rich for the Dolphins' blood right now with their cap situation and where they are as a team. If you're a contender, you want to make sure you have a very, very solid, reliable place kicker. If you're where the Dolphins are, if your place kicker costs you one game and you go from 6-11 to 5-12, not a big deal.
It might be a net positive at that
point. There you go. And Ben, no, the Dolphins are not going to tank. They're not. Jeff Hafley wants to win. You want to establish a winning culture. That was the same deal in 2019 with Brian Flores. But regardless of the moves that the Dolphins made that year, it was a purge of the roster, a resetting, a rebuilding, a revamping of everything, clearing up cap space, accumulating draft capital. And it may come to that at some point with the Dolphins in 2026. And there's a gentleman who used to do draft stuff who's on Twitter by the name of Chad Forbes, who's throwing out there that he's hearing in league circles that the Dolphins want to trade Devon Achane and get a first-round pick in return. I don't know how valid that is. I don't know if they can get a first-round pick for a running back. That's generally pretty high for a running back. But it's something they would have to consider because not that he's not a good player, but he's got a contract extension that's looming.
I think there is a 0% chance that Devon Achane goes for a first-round pick. There's no way. What team in there? And I like Devon Achane, man. Good football player. Great football player. A first-round pick for Devon Achane?
Yeah.
Not a chance in hell. No way. I'm sorry, Chad Forbes. I'm calling straight cap on that one. No way. Maybe a second. Maybe. I think even that's pushing it, if I'm being honest. Running back value is very low. It is not very high. It has nothing to do with Devon Achane. It's just
plus
the nature of the beast. It wants a new contract. And again, no offense to Devon Achane, very good football player. Has one really good year. Really good year. Really good, not regular good, really good year.
Well, we had one great year. He was good in 2024, I would say, and in 2023 as a situational back. He's averaged 7 yards a carry. I mean,
he's a good player, but this is not early career Saquon Barkley numbers, right? We're talking about a first round pick for a player, right? This is not I'm not trying to throw shade at Devon Achane. I'm throwing shade at running back value in the NFL.
Headline Dante says Devon Achane sucks. No.
Oh yeah. No.
I'm kidding.
He's terrible. Yeah, he stinks. We'll see what happens at the trade deadline though. That might.
Oh, at that point, sure.
Yeah, that might be different. We'll see. But right now, no way.
But this is where also, before anybody jumps in and suggests, wait a second, John Sullivan says they're not trading. They're open to extensions for them. Yeah, they're open to contract extension. If they get blown away by an offer, by a contract extension, we're going to trade them. And that applies to, and there's nobody on this team who's untouchable. I think the most untouchable player on this team probably is Patrick Paul because he plays a premium position. He looks like he's going to be a player. And his contract situation is very favorable because he's heading into year 3 of his rookie contract.
He'll be extension eligible next year.
After next season, which makes him less than 100% untouchable. But outside of that, Dolphins don't have a rookie who's in the second year of his rookie contract who has shown the kind of potential Paul showed last year. So I don't think anybody else would surpass him in that capacity. Go ahead. Tell me a more.
No, I'm trying to think. More untouchable. Probably not. No, I think that's a good call out. Yeah, because I mean, premium position, like you said, young player, ascending player as well, right? Like getting better tangibly, which is very important. So yeah, and I think I mean I would treat left tackle like quarterback to me, right? Like it's if he wants an extension and he plays really well after this coming season, I would make him one of the top paid left tackles in the sport. I would. Like that's great. I don't want to think about that position again for the next 4 years minimum, right? Like that'd be great. So yeah, Paul feels like the right answer there. Just have to hope that he keeps chugging along here in 2026, right? That's it.
No, great. So let's see if we have any final thoughts here as far as free agency is concerned. Again, yeah, I think and I'm with Dante here. I think the Dolphins, what they may do is they may do a couple of moves to create more cap space. They may re-sign one or two of their own free agents. But if you're going to be sitting on your laptop at noon tomorrow and refreshing to see about a big splash signings or not signing because they can't sign officially until Wednesday, but it's like a report of an agreement to terms. Yeah, I kind of think that's pretty doubtful.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I think if it does, it's going to be a really small deal. It'll be a 1-year deal for a couple $1 million at most. And it'll be a player that probably hasn't played a ton of football or has been a backup for the most part, or is coming off an injury, something like that. Like that's where the Dolphins are going to be operating this year. They are going to be taking low value swings on players who are maybe looking for a turnaround, which is roughly where they were last year for the most part. If you look at a lot of their free agents, right, it's the Fatu Melifonwus of the world. It's the Ashton Davises of the world. It's the not really James Daniels, but also kind of James Daniels. I don't think they're going to pay that type of contract. But again, coming off of a major injury, can you get a player with talent on a major injury discount, right? Like those are going to be
NWI.
Yeah, NWI, right? Like that. Those are going to be the bins with which the Dolphins are operating this offseason. It's going to be a lot like last year. They're just going to have even less money to operate with than they had last year.
And hopefully get a better result from that class. So with that all said, let's dive into the live chat, which is always fun. Check out what you guys have to say, have to ask. And then, as always, we appreciate those in the super chat donating to the cause. Always very appreciated. So we are always going to prioritize those kind folks. I'm sure you understand. What do we? That keeps going. Here we go. We got it with Miami 50-45. Thank you very much. You guys, the Dolphins NFL discussions are top tier. Oh man,
thank you
so much. Yeah, that deserves one of these. And by the way, I know this annoys some people when I do it. To that I say, sorry, not sorry.
I should do a thumbs down one. I think if you give a thumbs down, it should emote. No, they should. Oh, look at that. There is one.
There you go. See? And if I do 2 thumbs up, I get there we go, sparks. And by the way, the origin of the hearts is I was on another podcast, or maybe in this one, and just out of the blue I decided, I love that. I went like this, and all of a sudden I saw the hearts flying, and I was like, whoa! I didn't even know my laptop did that. So that's how technologically advanced I am, which is to say, not even remotely. Miami 45 against. I absolutely think they will trade down. Here's what I would say. I absolutely think they would love to trade down. That's not the same as them actually doing it because, again, it takes 2 to tango. But that would be absolutely ideal if they could get out of this draft with 12 draft picks, really have a good hitting percentage on those draft picks. That would be ideal.
Yeah, I mean, trading down is always good value, no matter where you're at. I think the only situation where it's not is if you have the first overall pick and you need a quarterback and there's a good quarterback there. Every other situation, you're always going to get plus value from trading down. The question is, what do you do with those picks? And is there someone willing to come up? And I don't know that there's going to be for the Dolphins. This draft class is below average, I would say.
Yep, I agree. Noel B1 Noel's a friend of the show. Noel's a good dude. Noel's actually also very, very funny. Appreciate the donation, partner. If we find a young QB or a reclamation project with promise, next year's watered down offense will be a good test if they can be the guy. But it may not necessarily be a watered down offense. Again, if they wind up retaining Achane, if they wind up retaining Waddle, if they can solidify a couple of the spots on the offensive line with, bargain offensive linemen, I don't know if it necessarily needs to be watered down.
No, I mean, this is not a talentless group on offense, right? Like, assuming Patrick Paul continues to improve and assuming Aaron Brewer maintains his high level of play. If they keep Austin Jackson at right tackle, I think we would both agree that he's a perfectly fine starting right tackle, and I think he's a good player. So you've got at least 3 spots on the offensive line that you feel good about, and then you've got one of the best running backs in the sport, and you've got a very good wide receiver. That's not bad. You could do a lot worse than that, right? So I think that makes it a better test, though, for a young quarterback, right? Because they actually have something to work with, right? It wasn't like the tank Dolphins where it was just like, who are these guys throwing to? Like, nobody, right? Nobody's blocking. You're not
Devontae Parker was a good.
I have a lot of respect for Devontae Parker, but
he was very good in 2019.
He was very good in 2019, but I think Jalen Waddle's a different breed, but not the point. I think it makes it a better test, though, for a young quarterback, is my point, because it's not just you're not just chucking the ball up to Devontae Parker and hoping he goes and makes a play for you, right? Like, your guys are going to be open and creating in the running game and stuff like that. Like, you'll have better options. And I think that makes evaluating a young quarterback a lot easier, whether that's Quinn Ewers, somebody they trade for, somebody they draft, whoever it ends up being. The Dolphins will have some infrastructure in place to get a good evaluation, and that is exciting, for me at least.
Okay. BK Jones, 3363, thank you for the donation, partner. Could you please discuss my comments at the beginning of the show? Well, let's go back and look at your comments, shall we? I don't know if I can use this. Okay, I think there are a few of them, but here we go. I'm going to do it like this. Well, first of all, hello, Alain. You misspelled my name. I don't know, but it's okay. Here we go. I must say, I don't think I've ever commented here before, but I heard your debate yesterday with each other. Should the Dolphins trade a 3rd-round pick if a team would take Tua? And Alain said he absolutely would do it. I'm very surprised Alain said this. Why in the world would we go spend that money this year?
I promise this is not my burner account. That's the exact argument that I made.
Okay, you're gonna let me lead through all of this, and then I shall respond. This is a build a culture year and play with a young and expensive talent year. We probably won't even draft a quarterback this year. Everything is set up for next year. No offense, Alain, but that was a silly argument. God bless you both. Dante wins that by far. LOL, they will have $100 million next year to spend and probably a draft pick high enough to draft a quarterback. Take Tua and his salary, have the money this offseason, and for what? Again, they're setting up for a massive offseason next year, but I don't even think they're going to spend much then. They will be frugal with their spending as long as Sullivan is there. No, hold on. The Packers were not frugal when they had a window and they signed Josh Jacobs and Xavier McKinney in the same free agency period. So right away, I will correct you with that fact. Generally speaking, the Green Bay philosophy is more draft and develop than spending big in free agency. But Sullivan himself said, when it's time to take a shot, we will take our shots. Okay, that's number one. Number two, my thing with Tua, again, you talk about establishing a culture. To establish a culture, remove all the guys from the previous culture who have gotten you to this point. And on that list, number one is Tua Tagovailoa, whether you like it or not. That's number one. Number two, there's also cap carryover. So whatever you save, if a team is willing to take on Tua's full salary, would carry over even if you don't use on free agents this year. Okay. And if the Dolphins also understand that whether you like it or not, all of the national reports, which again, don't come out of thin air, they're generally kind of gently tossed their way by someone around or in the organization. Pretty much unanimously is the Dolphins want to move on from Tua. Okay. If they don't make a trade, it's likely going to be a post-June 1 cut. okay, which is 67 this year, 32 next year. That's 99 million total. If the Dolphins can trade him, that's 45 million. So doing quick math, 99 minus 45 is 54 million that you save over the next 2 years. You're going to tell me that's not worth it for a third round pick that you can use however you want to use. It doesn't have to be used right now. To me, it's a no brainer. So if you want to agree with Dante and be wrong, like this guy was, by all means, go for it.
That's the best comment I've ever seen on this show. That's just no notes at all. I agree with everything. Great job. Phenomenal stuff.
Me or BK?
Oh, BK, obviously. He said I was right. I agree with him. What do you mean? It's a good debate.
No, it is. Okay. Jim says, for something I can't put it up on the screen here, and Jim also a big supporter of the show. Very much appreciated, Jim. Thank you for the donation as well. Great show, boys. I'm looking forward to seeing how this new regime moves through the draft and free agency. I feel like it isn't going to look the same as the past 10 to 15 years. We can certainly hope. I also am very hopeful. Again, they sound different, which may be silly to say. They sound like they have a plan. There's a lot more conviction. I know there's some fans who are not happy with the Dolphins dumping Ingold and Sanders. It had to be done. And for me, again, positional value. If you're a team that's rebuilding, you don't need a $4.5 million kicker. And then fullback, as much as we may love Alec Ingold, good dude, great in the community, team captain, does the dirty work. He plays fullback and he's on the field for like 20 snaps a game.
Yeah, he was the highest paid fullback in the league, right?
No, probably the highest paid fullback.
Well, he was okay. So if it wasn't Ingold, I mean, Ingold had to be like second or third, right? My point was just going to be exactly what you said, right? Like the Dolphins are not in a position to have the second or third highest paid fullback in the NFL, like right now. They're just not. You can get that position for $700,000 at UDFA.
Correct.
So
and the other part, okay, the AAV, use checks average per year is 3.75, and there was the tops in the NFL. I mean, Patrick Ricard is next at 2.8. And here's the thing. This is an argument I make. The difference in quality of player and impact somebody will make at fullback between an A fullback and even a D fullback in terms of impacting the outcome of games is very, very small. Unlike if you have an A pass rusher and a D pass rusher, that's going to make a big difference.
Yeah.
But not for a fullback.
Correct. Yeah.
You agree on that one? Oh,
I do. Yeah. We're back on the same page, baby. We're back.
Now you're thinking, well, finally the dude's finally figured out some stuff. Puff past the hopium. Dude, what opium passing? We already told you that. I've already told you that if a field goal kicker misses a kick, you go from 6-11 to 5-12. That's hopium. If I'm telling you that I think Sullivan and Hafley look like they're guys who are on the ball, that's hopium, really? Okay.
Also, like, what is the value in you and I sitting here and going, everything's going to be terrible forever? Like, what is the value of that? Like, genuinely, like, it would be a different story if this was a run back, right? And it was Mike again, and it was Chris again, right? Like, it would be like, okay, well, we've seen 4 years of this. We know that it's going to be not what we want it to be, right? But it's a new regime. Like, do you really want us to sit here all season and go, same old Dolphins, when it's not the same old Dolphins? Technically, we don't know that it is. It could be, it could not be. But like, what is the value in us sitting here all offseason and be like, all right, the Dolphins are doomed already? Yeah, like there's no point. Why care? Why hope? There's no value in that. Like, we're here to provide context and analysis, right? Like, if the Dolphins make a move that we don't like, I guarantee both of us will talk about not liking it. Like, we're not going to be shy about it. And if they make moves that we do like, we'll say that too. But there's no value in us sitting here the day before free agency and being like, they're doomed and blow it up again. Like,
oh my God. And I'm not telling you they're going to become the second coming of Ozzie Newsome and Andy Reid as GM and coach. I'm just telling you that, again, my limited exposure to them is they come across like they're on the ball, and there's not one move they've made so far where I've gone, what the hell was that? Whereas it's happened before. Okay. No, again, no, thank you very much. Polish off the crystal ball and predict how many UDFAs will make the 53-man roster this year. That's my number.
4.
Which is
I was going to say 6. So
that's
a lot. Yeah. That's a lot. So like, it seems like the over under is like
5.
Yeah. So over under 5 UDFAs on the roster. I'm taking the over right now. You got the under.
Yeah.
4 is a lot though. 4 is a decent number still.
I'd have to go back to, in fact, I can do this very quickly and if memory's going to serve. Guys, bear with me a second. I'm going to look up at the game.
I'll yap about why I think it's over 5 while you figure it out. I think it's simple math. Ultimately, you're going to have 28 guys-ish, internal free agent 29, actually, internal free agents hit the market. You got to replace them somehow. You don't have a ton of money to sign 29 internal free agents back or free agents, external back. Guys have to play snaps on special teams, and you need things like backup offensive linemen, and you need a CB4 and a safety 3 and a linebacker 3. I could see those things being UDFAs. Now, if they trade out of the first round, they get a bunch of draft picks, maybe my opinion changes because those guys go from UDFAs to draftable players. But ultimately, I think it's going to be really high. Did I kill enough time?
No. I'm up to 3 right now, though one I'm not sure. I'm looking at the opening day roster. This was for the game against the Baltimore Ravens, if you recall. Didn't work out so well for the Dolphins. They lost 59-10. Right now, I have Preston Williams. I have defensive end Jonathan Ledbetter. This one I'm not sure. I'd have to go back. Chris Lamons maybe was a cornerback. I don't recall if he was a UDFA. As I'm looking, and I have Avery Moss, a defensive end. I don't recall if he was UDFA as well. Patrick Laird, running back, so that would be 5. Shaq Calhoun would be 6. I think I'm up to 6. Maybe Trent Harris.
Doesn't look like Chris Lamons was undrafted in 2018.
Okay, so he was not a UDFA. So let's eliminate Lamons. Patrick Laird, I know, was one of them. I think Shaq Calhoun as well.
Shaq Calhoun was undrafted. Yeah,
in 2019. Okay, so we're looking at 5 or 6 back then in 2019 as well.
Yeah, so that's kind of where my head's at, roughly.
Oh, somebody throwing out Rich Gannon. Interesting. We'll look up. See, this is the discussion of guys who didn't. Rich Gannon, his first 4 years, started 12 games. His fourth season, he started 12 games. So
we have a lot of guys who sat for 3 years and then were starters in their 4th year, which is not quite the Malik Willis experience. Close, but no cigar is where we're at.
Mr. Billy Batson says, I smell a Dolphins wild card victory. Now that is hopium.
Maybe in 2027, if you have a really good scent, a sense of smell, maybe you smell it in 2027.
Okay, let's go back. Somebody saying, what's the payout? What's the payout for the over and under? You get a shout out on the live podcast. How's that?
There you go. Yep. Everybody put your bets in now. We'll do a whole shout out episode.
There you go.
Just sit here and read names.
Okay. I'm going to acknowledge Michael because Michael's always makes it a point to comment with a very nice.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael. Michael's a good dude. And BK Jones says that's a funny name. BK, where I grew up, or I think your name would probably be funny too. So that's how that works. My name wasn't funny where I grew up. It was kind of normal, actually. Ron Owens, I agree with Poop. If someone was crazy enough to take 2 and a third for a 7th and take that contract, hell yeah, you don't have to spend all the money this year. It's better than eating it. Thank you, Ron. You are a smart man. Right?
We've got our own little bases popping up. I like that.
There you go. I like it. Mr. Billy Batson, I smell a better record than last year. I don't know. Marcellus says, anyway, we can bolster the O-line with cheap free agents.
I mean, yeah. You can try. I think they should. And we wrote about this on Dolphins on SI Friday or Saturday. I'm not sure off the top of my head. Days are really starting to bleed together in the offseason for me. But I wrote that, hey, I think they actually need to sign one of their low-value guys. Should be a volume snap taker at offensive tackle or guard. So yeah, I mean, they can, right? Like Cordell Volson's an interesting name to me. Larry Borum apparently is going to get more money than people expect, if you believe some national reports that have indicated that. If that's untrue, I would not be opposed to bringing him back on a low value deal. There's a couple others. Spencer Buford from San Francisco is like a scheme fit guy. He's got some starting experience at tackle and guard. I don't think he'll get a ton of money, frankly, because he hasn't played overly well. But that's, again, where the Dolphins are shopping this year. So just a few names to throw out there. But the short answer is yes, they can.
Yeah, I like the other name you threw out there, too. This is an edge defender. It's Kingsley Enagbare.
Yeah.
Of the Green Bay Packers. Scheme fit, obviously. Jeff Hafley familiar with him. He's not going to break the bank. Dolphins badly need edge defenders. I think that would be
and he's like 26. So
correct.
You've got a little bit of meat on the bone to actually develop him in the next couple of years. So yeah, super appealing.
Card fans, we're still eating dead money for Jalen Ramsey and Teron Armstead, and they're eating a whole lot for Tyreek Hill, and chances are they're going to eat a whole lot for Tua Tagovailoa. By the time they're done, they very well may be over $100 million of dead cap space on a cap that has a limit of $301 million.
Crazy.
That is not good roster management. No, I still, to me, the Jalen Ramsey, Tyreek Hill restructures, extensions of 2024 will forever boggle my mind.
Yeah, it's the chasing the market, right? That's how bad teams stay bad.
No, they had them locked up. That's why there's
right, and then they came back to them and said, "We want to be paid like the guys who just hit the market." The Dolphins were like, "Sure, man, you got it." Right? Like you're chasing the market. Why? Stop.
I'd have been like, stop. And what very well might have happened if the Dolphins stood their ground with Jalen Ramsey as they should have, he would have been okay, fine, then trade me, to which the Dolphins, okay, bye-bye. I mean, Marsalis also a good dude, a regular here. What's up, Marsalis? Half the passes I've seen Willis throw were off the simple high-low read naked bootlegs. Yep.
Yeah, especially if you watch his, not this past year, the previous year when he filled in for Jordan Love for a couple games, it is mostly that stuff and like read option stuff. But I don't disagree with this point at all. What I would say is what's so encouraging about Malik Willis is you can watch that first start in Green Bay where it's like 12 passes or 13 passes I think he threw against the Titans or something. And it's all of those like high-low reads on bootlegs. And then you can go watch him against the Ravens this year, and he throws a lot more advanced stuff. So it's kind of cool to see that like natural progression. You don't have to guess that he's getting better. You've seen it with your own eyes. But to this commenter's point, yeah, there's a lot of simple stuff on tape, you know, and that's the risk that some team is going to take on. And we'll see if it's the Dolphins. I don't think it will be, though.
I like this one here from Richard Keys. Face reality, you're going to have to be creative, be able to develop. There are still QBs who haven't been explored. Joe Milton. I've always been on board with the explore Joe Milton because he can run, and that arm of his, woof. And if you all know me, you know I'm an arm queen. Obviously, it needs more. You need more than that to be a successful NFL quarterback. But if you have that, it's a good starting point. Unless I'm severely mistaken, though, he's under contract with the Cowboys, so it would require a trade. Unless Dante's going to look it up.
No, I think he's still under contracts.
So
I'll look it up though, just to be sure. I don't want to give the people bad information. That would be unfortunate.
No, we don't want to do that. Daryl Wright says, "How do we find ourselves resetting the financial books again post Wallace, Sue, and now again? How do we prevent this? Go." By stop giving out bad contracts, particularly when you don't have to, when your guys is already under contract.
Yeah, stop chasing the market. And for reference, Joe Milton under contract for 2026 and 2027. So he is not a free agent until 2028.
Okay. If the Cowboys sign him up for that long, I don't know if they're going to be necessarily willing to move him. So we shall see. Sharp instincts rescuing a sinking ship sounds like a good idea to have a captain named Sully. That's good. I like that.
That's a good one.
But Chris, Michael, Ray, Richardson, Greer, the ship be sinking will set an all-time dead money record in total and percentage of the cap. Yep.
Yeah.
And again, the summer of 2024. That's
not great.
That's being polite. Mr. Billy Batson's what about Cam Miller?
I mean,
what about him?
I am of the opinion of like, if they have a pulse and they're younger than 26, I want to see them competing in some capacity. That's where I'm at. Like, if Cam Miller goes in at QB4 into camp and he looks awesome, I want to see him in the preseason. And if he stinks, they can cut him. It's not going to bother me, but he can compete. I don't see any problem with that.
Yeah, correct. Wouldn't necessarily hold my breath. And here's the thing: 6th round pick, and the Raiders saw him in training camp, and they didn't bother putting him on the 53 when their roster was a pretty hot mess the entire season. So it wouldn't have been a big stretch to carve out a roster space for him if they thought there was something there. Instead, they put him on the practice squad. Dolphins just grabbed him, and he's not big.
I did look. I had a higher grade on him coming out than Quinn Ewers, which is funny.
Yeah, well, you're a Quinn Ewers hater. So.
Apparently I am.
Yeah, and for you, you didn't call him Quinn Ewers. You call him Quinn Ewers. Yeah.
It certainly seems. I keep saying I'm not a Quinn Ewers hater, but the numbers seem to say differently.
Well, your comments seem to say differently. Carson says Anthony Richardson is trash. He has been trash. He's also 6'4", runs really, really well, and has a bazooka for an arm. And if you can harness that, which may not be possible, is it not worth trading a 6th round pick to see if somehow you can unlock all those physical traits? Why not?
Yeah.
Okay. Richardson's an athletic freak, though high ceiling if he can develop like Allen, but very low floor. Correct. Yes, he's got the variance between what he's been and what he could be is gigantic, and it's more than likely it's going to stay on the lower half, but you don't know. We just don't know.
Worth a shot in my book.
Pros and Fin Fan says Poop needs to start a series where he joins small-time YouTubers with small sub counts. You could call it Slumming With. I volunteers first. You guys rock. Keep it up. Thank you very much. I have appeared on, and I certainly would not describe it any other than fan podcasts. I'm not necessarily swimming with time, but you guys can hit me up in DMs, and if I have the time, I'm always glad to do it. How's that? Let's see. Mitchell do not sign Malik Willis. It's a waste of money. We need to let Quinn play. Dante, this is all yours. Go ahead.
Oh man. I mean, like I said, if it's more than $20 million for Malik Willis, I would also let Quinn play. If it's $20 million or less, I would be banging Malik Willis's door down with the contract, and I would have no interest in seeing Quinn Ewers take a snap unless Malik Willis stinks. Okay. So
interesting one. Idleman, another one who's a follower. What's up, Idleman? Saw a report today that I'm assuming you mean Jimmy Garoppolo is being considered by the Packers. It would make a lot of sense. Any contender would. That's a high-end backup. And again, the problem with Garoppolo is he's always hurt. But when he's played, generally speaking, he's usually been pretty good. I mean, didn't he injure himself with a chin strap? Is that what it was? It was like a rubber band type of concoction type thing.
Like hit him, he got hit in the eye with it. He got like an orbital fracture, if I'm not mistaken, from like a exercise band during like pregame warmups. I think it was even. I don't even think it was like in the facility. Strange injury. Very, very strange.
Right then and there, though, if we're going to be honest about it. Dude. Marcellus, I love you, but I'm going to have to disagree with you. Allen was trash until he wasn't. Allen was never trash, even as a rookie. And I'm going to say this, and hopefully my Dolphin fellow beat writers will back me up on this. When Josh Allen played in Miami as a rookie in 2018, if you remember that game, the Dolphins won in the last play of the game, when he had Charles Clay open in the end zone, underthrew him. Charles Clay got kind of slipped as he was trying to move back for the ball. It could have been a touchdown. Very easily, Dolphins could have lost. And the accuracy he was all over the place with his passes. But the way he moved and the way he threw the ball, I made the comment at that time, oh, this guy's going to be a problem. I don't care how he looks right now. This guy's going to be a problem. And I'm not always right on quarterbacks. That one, yeah, to me, it wasn't difficult to see that there was something there. Billy, when did Cam Miller join the team? It was like 1 week or 2 weeks left at the end of the regular season. They signed him off the Raiders practice squad.
Yep.
Let's see. We are closely wrapping up. Here we go. Jeff. What up, Jeff? Yeah, this Philbin 3.0 experiment is going to be so disastrous. And what scares me more is this team under Ross after his comments the end of 2025 and the team not going to his daughter sucks. No, it's going to go to it's going to staying. It's staying in the family. The one who's going to run it is son-in-law Daniel Silman. So it's staying in the family.
Who is Philbin 2.0?
That's a very good point, right?
Yeah, this says Joe Philbin 3.0. Who is Joe Philbin 2.0?
What does the Philbin experiment relate to? Is it Packers or is it an assistant coach?
I'm not sure. If it's if it's like an offensive coordinator, then this is not Philbin 3.0. Jeff Hafley's a defensive coordinator. Mike McDaniel would have been Philbin 3.0.
2.0, yeah.
Confusing. Not sure.
This is a rebuilding year, Poupart. Yep. Never saying anything to the contrary. Marcellus, can we stop paying local guys just because they're from South Florida? Who have they done that with?
Well, we bring that up when we talk about free agents because that means guys might want to come back, not necessarily that the Dolphins are interested because they're from South Florida, right? Like that's from the player side that they might be interested in the Dolphins because they're from South Florida, right? Like that's why we bring that up for the most part. Yeah.
And for example, Geno Smith, if Geno Smith can't find a starting job anywhere or he has to compete somewhere, the money's going to be the same regardless where he goes. Chances are he'd prefer going to the Dolphins since he's from South Florida. And then maybe that's an opportunity for the Dolphins that otherwise wouldn't be there. But I don't think the Dolphins go out of their way to go, oh, let's look only at the South Florida guys.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if we're going to wrap this up here. And we may not get to all of the Finn's take with CB83. Just rock out with yours. Do you think Tua gets cut because he's ultimately the best QB on the roster and they don't want it for optics? That could be part of it, but you have to add the point that even if he's still the best quarterback on the roster, he's still not good enough to get where you want to go. And that's been proven at a time when the roster around him was really, really good, i.e. 22, especially 2023. So if he couldn't get you there with that roster, where do you think the Dolphins are going when the rest of the roster is rebuilding? And then what you're doing again is you're delaying finding that franchise quarterback who can take you where you want to go.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. It's time to move on.
Wait a second, you agree with me? Whoa, look at
How about that?
On that note, I mean, I can't.
Yeah, I think we just end it right there. That's it.
Just with a better note than that, you finally seen the light and come to your senses and agree. I kid. It's always good to disagree about certain things. Want to thank everyone for joining. As always, enjoyed it. Hope you guys enjoyed it as well. We'll be back here on Monday, hopefully with a lot of news, a lot of moves the Dolphins make. Don't expect it, but that would be cool. More than likely, probably going to be later in the afternoon, 5-ish, 6-ish. It's going to be one of those. If we tape shows, we tape it. By the time we post it, my Dolphins might have made a couple more moves. That's what we're going to run into throughout the next week. But again, thanks for watching. He is Dante Collinelli. He's the deputy editor of MiamiDolphinsSI.com. Please check out his fine written content, all for free. I also contribute as well, quite a bit. And wherever you get your audio podcast, that's where you can find us at the All Dolphins Podcast. Again, please like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. More importantly, thanks again for watching us and enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening.